Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, and we are discussing the AEW Dark episode for the 18th of August 2020. Almost a year of Dark. In a few more weeks, they'll have 52 episodes. But anyway, this is one of the longer episodes, over an hour and a half. Not really much that is can't see television, but I mean, it's also a case of them having too many talents and giving jobs to friends and giving jobs to people they think they might have value for later without really having a long-term plan of what they're doing. Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Beta Scott are your Dark commentators for the evening. Beta Scott needs to be a more regular part of this program, preferably on Dynamite to replace Excalibur, but I know that's not going to happen because, well, Excalibur has a fan base that I do not quite understand. Anyway, we open with Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford defeating Michael Nakazawa. Nakazawa does his campy comedy stuff, which belongs on some indie show somewhere. He frustrates Sabin, and then Sabin hits a springboard kick, and then he looks for the dive. Kip controls the majority of the match. Nakazawa counters with cradles and other pinning combinations. Finish comes when Nakazawa uses his underwear, but Sabian turns it around and puts it in Nakazawa's own mouth, followed by Deadly Hallows for the win. Kip is a guy that I don't understand still, and with them getting rid of Jimmy Havoc earlier this week, it's almost like they're hitting reset with his character, so I'm not necessarily sure where this goes from here. Next, we go to Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss defeating Shawn Dean and Frank Stone. Stone is in his maiden voyage on AEW programming. This is the first time that Stone and Dean have tagged, obviously, if this is Stone's first match. Janela and Kiss are on a bit of a run. I think they're 6-1, 7-1, whatever it is. They remain mostly on Dark, which is good for Janela. Again, he's another guy who, if they get rid of him tomorrow, I really don't think the product loses anything. However, Sonny Kiss has benefited from being in a tag team, and I think there's so much more they could be doing with his character in our current political times, in our current social justice times. Having diversity in characters, I think, is valuable, and they could play with that quite a bit more than they are. Imagine having a nod towards Goldust without calling him Goldust, endorsing Sonny Kiss, especially since Sonny has mentioned growing up liking the Goldust character. There's just a million ways you could go with it anyway. So, Stone and Dean, which sounds like a law firm, do get a good bit of offense, and Stone looks solid. I don't know if he's under contract or this is just a tryout. Janela starts out with Stone, and Dean tags in quick. I will say Janela and Kiss do seem to work together pretty well, taking advantage on Dean, and then there's some double teams by Stone and Dean, which is done behind the referee's back, which is cool, except there isn't enough consistencies in rules to make this matter. Both teams do hit some double team maneuvers. Janela fights off with a double DDT, followed by this goofy backwalk thing. There's the age-old saying that Dusty Rhodes says, if you can't do it, don't do it. And Janela does many spots that he cannot do looking effectively. Anyway, Kiss gets the hot tag, hits his handspring slap, misses the split leg drop. Stone and Dean hit a combination Samoan drop neckbreaker combo for near fall. Janela hits a cutoff with a super kick. There's too many of these in AEW. There's too many of these in wrestling. And then Janela hits an elbow drop, and Kiss hits the split leg for the pin. Well done here. We move on to Shawn Spears versus Tully Blanchard versus Will Hobbs. I don't quite understand why on Dark they do a graphic and intro for every match. I think you could cut 5 minutes off the show just by going match to match, but that's just me. Anyway, Spears continues to be on a bit of a roll. He is using the glove. The glove is a respect thing from Tully Blanchard. Match turns into a stalemate early. I think Spears needs to look more dominant if they're actually ever going to do anything with him. And Spears needs advice in a match like this, which is just goofy. Spears offers a test of strength, but it doesn't go anywhere. And Hobbs is on the mat now. And then we see working over the leg by Spears. This is done for most of the match. Hobbs does hit a good spine buster. Spears manages to go back to work on the knee. Death Valley Driver for the win. Spears continues his attack after the match. And, then they do the loaded glove spot. Again, this is a case of them having too much talent and no real direction for a lot of their undercard talent. This is fun as Ricky Starks comes up with a pre-recorded promo. He basically addresses Darby Allin. Nothing huge here, but the fact they're trying to acknowledge Starks as somebody that deserves promo time is a good thing. Then we have another throwaway match as the Hybrid 2. Jack Evans and Angelico defeats the Initiative of Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler with Leva Bates. Both teams enter this with no wins. Or actually, I think it was before the pandemic that H2 won. But regardless, both teams have horrible records. And, I don't understand these losing streak concepts if they're not going anywhere. I guess it's fine that H2 is back, although if you got rid of both, I don't think you would see a terrible number of fans doing the outcry thing, except hardcore indie fans who are just know their work from other places and are in an uproar because they're not being given, quote, fair opportunities. But the simple fact is, with both teams having majority losing records, this is a match that doesn't need to be here. So Avalon does his character thing. It's almost like you have two heel teams out there. The match is fine. Evans does a little bit of comedy. He does some striking, and Cutler exchange a good number of cradles, almost too many. Like, there's pinfalls, and then there's just, let's show what we can do in wrestling school drill, and that's what this feels like. Cutler counters out of a Cazadora into a facebuster, and there are some double T maneuvers for him and Avalon. Avalon dropped Evans to the floor. T's hitting him with Bates' book. Bates is on the outside. I still don't understand how you have Leva Bates, who is one of the better character-driven independent women's wrestlers, and you don't use her for anything other than this manager deal. Like, is she just there because she has a relationship with Peter Avalon? If so, why did you have her wrestle in the first place? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, Angelico takes advantage and uses the book to his advantage. This is done when the ref isn't looking, so at least they're trying rule consistency. Brandon Cutler gets the hot tag, and he manages to get both of his opponents in a negative place, so to speak. and then a spinning slam for a 2 count. Initiative almost gets the win, but it doesn't happen, and Helico breaks that up. Evans hits a standing 450 splash. Cutler kicks out of that, which for a big move like that, why at this point? Evans and Angelico or Evans and Avalon fight on the floor. Bates hits a Hudakan Rana on Evans, which again, if all she's going to do is one spot a match, why even have her out there? Evans or Avalon lands a moonsault on Angelico. Evans breaks up the pin, decent near fall. Then they use a buckle bomb and hits a 630 splash for the win. Good moves. Everybody works hard, but a throwaway match. Abaddon defeats Red Velvet. Velvet goes after her right at the bell. Abaddon fights back immediately with a headbutt. Velvet goes face first into the apron with an arm wringer takedown. It looks reasonably painful and could have been unsafe. Abaddon continues the heat, and it's, I guess, fine. She wins in what is a squash, but they haven't done enough with why is she that dark character? What's the point of the character? She looks like a cartoon character. Is that what she's supposed to be? Like, they have not done nearly enough with the development of the character. It's getting to the point of just being there for the sake of being there. Dark Order of Colt Cabana, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds defeats D3, Ryzen, and Fabu Andre. Dark Order's too big. There's too many members. The rest of the Dark Order's out except for Brody Lee. I guess it was a to the point squash. Cabana is starting to wrestle his old way, but still get a little bit of edge to him. Cabana does use an infusion of the English World of Sport style. Does a little bit of comedy, but he's an interesting case because I don't know. Again, they start a storyline. They haven't really established that it's going anywhere, and then it's just confusing. There's no real offense from the enhancement talent folks. Dark Order with several cutoffs, no comebacks. Reynolds hits a flipping DDT with his teammates for the pin. Ricky Starks, Lee Johnson. And, I mean, Taz puts him over on commentary, which I think is good. Starks has since before his run in the NWA earlier in the year. Taz even does a little bit of coaching from ringside. Lee Johnson is a good hand who they need to get out of the enhancement talent role before they waste him. Johnson, and Starks both solid athletes. They trade drop kicks. Starks cuts him off with a knee strike, and then Johnson tries to re-enter the ring. Starks has control of the match for the majority of the time. Hits a neck breaker for a 2 count and a springboard drop kick. Johnson goes to the top rope. Starks springs up, cuts him off, and hits a Rochambeau for the quick victory. Wardlow approaches Johnson with a campaign button, for MJF, furthering that angle. It's out of place here. So then we go to Santana and Ortiz defeating Baron Black and Tony Danelli. I don't understand why the Inner Circle people have to even be here. It at some level, there's some talent that should stay on Dynamite, and this doesn't really work. So Santana and Black start off, and Black gets beat down for a good bit, and Donnelly tags in. Ortiz keeps the team's advantage with suplexes on Donnelly. Ortiz hits a powerbomb into Santana knee strike for the end in a super brief squash match. But again, by this point, these matches are just there to get guys in front of the camera, which I don't know that anyone should be doing just that at this point. Otherwise, it looks like an indie show where all our friends get on the show. Lance Archer with Jake Roberts takes on John Cruz and Jesse Sorensen, 2-on-1 handicap match. If you remember the name Jesse Sorensen, it's because Sorensen was a gentleman who broke his neck in TNA and had a very scary injury. Awesome of AEW to give him a chance here, as WWE didn't seem to, that I seem to recall, and TNA didn't do right by him during that whole fiasco. Anyway, match is supposed to be 2-on-1, but Cruz doesn't come out during the intro here. Archer comes down having already beaten on Cruz and carrying him over his shoulder. Archer looks extremely strong. Cruz and Sorensen very briefly take Archer off his feet, which is surprising with how strong they have managed to go with him. Archer hits a full Nelson bomb and a black hole slam, taking both guys out. Choke slam on Cruz into Sorensen and covers Sorensen standing up, but Cruz got overconfident and broke up the pin. Archer then hits a blackout on Cruz and puts both opponents in the claw for the double pin. This would be awesome if I had faith they were going somewhere with Lance Archer. Jake Roberts also teases the DDT post-match, and again, that looks good, but it's not going anywhere. Too many guys have unsequential stories, at least on Dark. It's amazing to me that the same writing team or group of people writing a show can do horrible on Dark and make everything not matter, but Dynamite, I would say 4 out of 5 weeks, is usually written well enough where I care about what happens next week before next week actually gets here. Billy with Austin Gunn defeats Alan 5 Angels of the Dark Order. Angels is back here. He's probably the most athletic and the most potential of the Dark Order folks. In terms of growth, I mean, Cabana, obviously a bigger star, Brody Lee, obviously a bigger star, but as far as the future, both for the character and not, I think Angels has something there. Billy teased the Dark Order, and, I mean, Billy obviously looks like $1 million, even though he's in his 50s. Dominates early, sending Angels to the floor. Delayed vertical suplex by Billy gets a near fall. Angels is cheered by women at ringside, which is kind of weird. Angels makes a comeback with a running drop kick, but a cutoff from Billy, and a tilt-a-whirl slam. Billy goes for the Fameasser, but Angels escapes, kicks Billy, and brings him back in and hits a sleeper hold side slam for the win. Post-match, Silver and Reynolds beat down Billy. Austin Gunn makes the save. I mean, it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense that Billy has this much cachet at this point in his career. Anyway, your supposed main event, and I say supposed just because, number one, I don't understand the pull of the Butcher and the Blade. Number two, I don't like 8-man matches or 6-man matches, just not what's there. Technically speaking, from a wrestling standpoint, best match on the show because of who's in it, but it's too many people. It lacks from not having a crowd, and dive isn't exciting with no people. Anyway, Butcher and Daniels start off. SCU nails some double team moves, and heels run away. Heels come back, beat Kazarian down. Blade's now the legal man. Kazarian fights back and hits a short arm clothesline. Tries for a leg sweep. That seems to get botched up. Cassidy in, but he allows Phoenix to tag in. Next, Pentagon and Quinn tag in, and they do, an 8-man schmoz for a bit. Private Party continues to maintain the advantage. Pentagon fought back with a sling blade, rotate of the heels, and Cassidy manages to get beat down for a good bit. Private Party looks kind of like, I don't want to say enhancement, but they get thrown around enough to where there are moments they don't look competitive. Pentagon and Phoenix are dominant here. Muda lock attempt by Phoenix. Cassidy escapes as Phoenix and Blade try to work together, but it doesn't work out well. A missed super kick. Quinn runs wild with crazy offense, hot tag, big moves, and Phoenix breaks up a pinfall. Quinn and Phoenix manage to finish off a decent sequence with leg strikes. Private Party hits the stereo dives on Butcher and Blade. Pentagon hits Pentagon driver on Kazarian, but it's broken up by Daniels. Butcher then pinned Daniels after the full death throttle, and there's your win. Again, at nearly an hour and 45 minutes. This is too long. There's too many people in it, and I just think they've hired people, and I would say they have no clue what to do with at least a quarter to half the roster. And that's unfortunate, because I think if they had a vision for everyone they hired, they could be the best wrestling program in the last 20 years. But there's a lot missing here, and they need to work on this. Anyway, till next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Be up momentarily with the Impact review from last night.